Emily Miller, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Are you surprised at the latest revelations of Anthony Weiner?
Not even in the slightest. Remember, as we spoke last time, he had run for mayor. He was supposedly recovered from his addiction, and he was starting his new life. And we see this campaign ad with him and his wife and his baby son in the morning. This is our normal mornings. And, of course we all knew he hadn't changed. You don't go from some sort of weird sexual deviant to Mr. Mom in one day. It's ridiculous. And so, of course, the truth comes out. And the truth is he has been sending naked pictures of himself to women as recently as this year and carrying on these online affairs. So, the one came out and was all these really dirty text on thedirty.com, I should say. And now my sources tell me there's 2 other women who are going to come out between now and Election Day with their own stories.
Yeah, and I wanted to really ask you quickly about those sources that you have. These are independent from the women that we've already heard about, and can you at least reveal how recently your sources have had contact with Anthony Weiner?
Oh, my sources aren't having contact with Anthony Weiner. I'm not talking about the women. I'm talking about, I can't tell you, obviously I'm a journalist. I can't tell you who's telling me. But I do not have personal contact with these women. I'm just saying that you should expect that you'll hear from, as long as he doesn't drop out of the campaign, you're going to hear and see the text of at least 2 more women before Election Day.
Wow.
And all of this being recent, things that have happened in the last year.
All right, so we have this news comes out, and it's pretty shocking, and then Anthony Weiner calls a press conference, and right there beside him is Huma Abedin, his wife, and I got the impression after we learned more and more and more about the sext messages that had taken place more recently, that perhaps Huma did not understand how recently those sext messages had taken place and some of the things that had been promised and discussed in those messages.
Well, I mean, can you imagine if she actually read them? I don't know. I can't imagine reading. First of all, I think Gloria Steinem, of all people, I think coined it exactly correctly, that Huma Abedin has Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, there's no other reason to explain why she's staying with her husband. Actually, there's one other reason. What my theory is, and I think a lot of people's theory, is that she's following in the footsteps of her mentor, Hillary Clinton. She worked for Hillary Clinton for her entire career, and, Hillary set this model that your husband can do and whatever he wants as long as you personally can get something out of it and you personally can get power. And I think it seems like either Gloria Steinem's right and this woman has a Stockholm Syndrome, or she is so desperate for power. She married a man when he was in Congress, was thinking of higher office, and, propriety and devotion and loyalty be darned, I'm going to stay with him no matter what. And now she's going to be part of his lies. I mean, let's say he has lied deliberately. He lied when he was in Congress and said that he didn't send the text. He, for weeks, repeatedly to the reporters, all of us on Capitol Hill, he said, I didn't do it, I had nothing to do with it. Then he leaves Congress and does all these interviews, People Magazine, New York Times, and says, I'm a changed man, it's all in the past, it's all different. His wife is in these interviews saying the same thing. Now we get a press conference this week where he says, it only stopped when I started running for mayor, which was this year, and my wife knew that the whole time.
Yeah.
So either they were both lying in the articles or they're both lying now. Either way, someone's lying.
Emily Miller is our guest. She's senior editor of the Washington Times opinion pages. Also, by the way, she has a new book coming out September 3rd, Emily Gets Her Gun. I'm guessing this chronicles your great series that you wrote at the Times about what you had to go through to get a gun in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, it includes that, but it's about gun control in 2013 and everything that's happened since Newtown.
Great. We're looking forward to that on September 3rd.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can have you back when that thing comes out.
I would love that. Thank you.
But Emily Miller, the latest poll shows that Anthony Weiner has definitely been hit by this scandal.
Right.
The first poll in New York since the scandal broke shows him dropping almost 20 points to his rival for the Democratic nomination for mayor. However, it shows that 16% of New York Democrats are still fine with him being mayor. I mean, what does this tell you about the electorate in New York?
My only theory is that those 16% do not have access to televisions, computers, or newspapers. That's my only theory. I know. It's so bizarre to me. I mean, even all the Democrats are coming out against him. Nancy Pelosi's against him. Harry Rangel, Jerry Nadler, the longtime congressman in New York, who's like, he needs to get out of the race. The New York Times editorial board, the most liberal editorial board in this country, said Weiner needs to go into his therapy in private. So, I mean, he has no supporters except this odd 16% of people. Unfortunately, the way the system works in New York is that unless somebody gets 40% in this first primary, then they have to have a runoff. So I think that's his hope, is that he gets close enough that he gets into the runoff and then still has a chance. But it is so bizarre to me that he has not stepped down. I think it's bizarre to a lot of people he's not stepped down, and it just goes to show his absolute narcissism and power hungry. He just won't give up in the face of complete shame.
Well, I mean, do you think, given the fact that the numbers have collapsed, and given the sense that there is this overriding wave of people who are now saying, listen, you need to get out of this thing and you need to go get some help, do you think he'll listen, or do you think he's just that stubborn and just that narcissistic?
Absolutely the latter. There is
really?
Zero chance
you think he stays in?
Weiner will drop out of this race. Absolutely zero chance. I mean, remember, I'm looking at this historically. 2 years ago, we're on Capitol Hill, week after week after week. All the reporters, every time we saw Anthony Weiner, did you send out a picture in your underwear? Do you have pictures of yourself in your underwear? I mean, it was like sickening. And then Nancy Pelosi and Deborah Wasserman-Schultz, the chairman of the DNC, said publicly, Anthony Weiner needs to leave. But weeks went by before he did. I mean, it was unbelievable. So he's so stubborn, and he's just, remember that who married Huma and Anthony Weiner?
Yeah, there you go, Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton officiated their wedding. I mean, can you imagine picking anybody least appropriate to officiate at a wedding?
Well,
here's Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky's boyfriend. It's unbelievable. But that's their political model are the Clintons, and the Clintons never go away.
Here's the deal, Emily Miller. I think the one way he does drop out is if either Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton speak out and say it's time to go, Anthony. That's the one voice that I think could do it. And by the way, I mean, you're a reporter, Emily. Maybe this could be your new big get. Why has no one asked Hillary Clinton and put her on the spot on this? Someone needs to confront Hillary Clinton. A reporter needs to confront her and say, what is your reaction to the Anthony Weiner situation? Because she has a political future, and her answer could possibly depend on alienating her, some voters.
Her female voters. The female voters are the ones who are most outraged by this. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, she is so lucky she's not in political office right now, but it won't last for long. She'll be back on the speaking circuit. I'm sure she's got a book coming out and all that rigmarole that leads up to running for president. So the question is, can Hillary Clinton hide until Election Day, or at least the primaries in New York? We'll see. But you're right, it does put them in a very awkward
All right, Emily, we'll be looking for your big interview with Hillary Clinton on this. In the meantime, she's not running for president, but she has rigmarole coming out with her new book, Emily Gets Her Gun, September 3rd. Great having you, Emily Miller.
Thanks, guys.
Always a pleasure, Emily. Come back any